everybody, one of Wiisdom here, Sunday, June 11th, about 10 p.m. here at the pool table. Earlier today, we took a look at Tide Pool. Tide Pool and Blaster-Tron, of course, have this in common. They were released Sunday, May 7th at Target here in the U.S., sort of like a timed exclusive to Target. And the problem there was, it seems like everybody else in the country was able to find Blaster-Tron and Tide Pool except me. And the thing is, it was to be a Sunday release, but it was basically Target got them in earlier that week. They put them on the shelves. They started selling them immediately. No register lock, no street date, nothing ridiculous like that. They came in, they stocked them, they sold them. So I tried, I think, Wednesday of that week. Nothing. I wound up, oddly enough, being in town on Saturday. Swung by Target, assumed they would have surely been out. Nope. Kept tabs on it online. They never came in. I checked with employees. They said they'd never gotten them. We pulled them up. I had the DCPI numbers. I go to great lengths to attempt to acquire these Skylanders for you. But long story short, my Target, not only did they not have them early, they didn't have them on the release day, and as of me filming this, they've never had them. So that's that, man. I tried and tried and tried, and I basically decided I'd have to wait until they hit other retailers, if they in fact hit other retailers here. Now, about 2 weeks ago, Ethan Cuddlemuffin, may know him from the Crash and Dr. Neil Cortex introductions there that we live streamed. He notified me. He's of course in Canada, but he said, hey, found him at Walmart. And so that was a good sign. And then of course now, as of yesterday, when I was running around, stopped back in on, it was out of town, but stopped at a GameStop. It was Pro Day. Needless to say, they had one of each. So that's the first time I've seen them. I figured at this point in time I better grab them. In the event that we have ourselves like a wham shell or a thrillipede type of a situation, honestly, having to wait 5 weeks or so, I would have liked to have acquired these at sale pricing. But at the same time, it's one of those deals, if I passed on them at GameStop, I would have felt really stupid if they never came to Toys R Us, or I could never find them there when they had sales, so on and so forth. So I just went ahead, bit the bullet, and picked them up. So yes, if you are like me and your Target has never had them, or they were all bought by scalpers, or you don't live near a Target, GameStop finally came through for me. So, and I'd been checking Walmart, I'd checked GameStop, I'd checked Toys R Us numerous times, and like I said, finally GameStop is what came through for me. So before we get into Blaster-Tron, he is of course coming in as a villain, right? He's sort of like the reformed villain. He's not standalone brand new Skylander like Tide Pool, but he takes on the role that you see with Wolfgang or Graveclobber. A lot of people don't remember this, but back in Skylanders Trap Team, Blaster-Tron was of course a capturable villain. But where did he come from? It was the future of Skylands, which was the big Wolfgang level, where Wolfgang had basically made Blaster-Tron be evil. Somehow the Skylanders decided to bring him back. We'll learn all about that in his story. But so he has ties to Bowslinger Wolfgang. So very cool. Again, that was a great level in my opinion. We will set that down now. Blaster-Tron is going to do a couple of things for us in terms of a collection. We'll discuss that here shortly. But what's behind this door? Dun 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 dun. See if you can put the pieces together there. Once again, $14.99 at GameStop. Again, if you are a hardcore collector and you don't care for the stickers, typically I can get GameStop stickers off with zero issues. Doesn't tear the cardboard. Take your time, be patient. You can probably pull it off. Literally, you can probably pull it off. Here he is. He is Light Element, which, hey, haven't talked about those guys in a while, right? So he's kind of got like the funky yellow with the super bright white background. Light Element, he is a knight. For the longest time, we only had Ambush, then of course my most anticipated Wildstorm came out, and now this completes the Trinity of Knights. So again, we'll cover all that in detail. Note, there is a hyphen between Blaster and Tron for the grammatically inclined people out there. And his slogan, Target Acquired. So, there's the inset artwork up front. Man, I've been having slippery fingers here. Spin it around to both sides for you. Now to the back side. In your hand or floating in space onto the portal into the game. It's that simple. Blaster-Tron, Sensei Skylanders unleash almighty Sky Chi powers. Unlock unique gear and weapons for your Imaginators. And of course, right there, he looks quite different in this screenshot than he does on the figure. More on that shortly. Again, pushing Skylanders Academy. Again, there will be season 2 coming at some point. I don't have Netflix. I'm apparently one of the only people that doesn't do that. But hey, to each their own. So hopefully it comes out on DVD or something. I also don't do Blu-rays because, quite frankly, I don't really care much for movies. Don't have time. I would rather play a game in my free time than just sit there and watch something fictional that I have no control over. That's just me. Other featured characters, we got Bad Juju, Master Flarewolf, the always impressive Graveclobber, Master Buckshot, Water, Life, and Undead Creation Crystals. So, while I cut this open here, have you been able to find them? It doesn't matter if you bought them or not. You know, maybe you're like, oh, well, I'm saving money for this or that, or, you know, funds are tight right now. I think I'll pass. Have you even been able to find these things? And if so, was it at Target? Did you know, it seems like I said, pretty much everyone aside from me, it seems like, got them early, prior to May 7th, and I was not one of those people. And in that meantime, I swear, my #1 most asked question, hey, you got Blaster-Tron and Tidepool yet? And the answer is always no. And now you can move on to asking, hey, do you have Robo and the Lost Imaginite Mines? And my answer will be no. So, yes, I could order it from overseas. I think that's stupid. I mean, money doesn't grow on trees, sadly, because this is an Animal Crossing. But if it did, I would plant a bell tree and we would probably order things from overseas. Nonetheless, what I'm getting at is I'm not going to pay ridiculous amounts of freight to do that. So I'll just patiently wait. If it never comes, it's their loss. You know, I'll survive somehow. But I am very, very excited. Some of going back to SSA. Routinely, my favorite element every time has been Earth. You go back to Prism Break and the mine levels. Ooh, those were fantastic times. I'm hoping they bring some of those elements back. I don't know that they will or not, but I do have high hopes for it. So here Blaster-Tron is. Obviously what we want to be leery of is the sword. It's going to be the point of weakness here. So let's see if we can work it out a little easier. Also the halo, I don't think, or the antenna halo, either one. I guess light element works. Good lord, this is all. There we go. Alright, so awkwardly you'll get to this point and then you can just kind of grab him by the lower body or the base and pull it out and then throw that plastic out of your life because it will never be a part of it again. Here is Blaster-Tron. Now, I've got mixed feelings on this. Part of me says, ooh, this is amazing. Look at this futuristic, luxurious paint scheme we haven't seen before. I will say he's fairly heavy, especially compared to what you would think, but the catch is this looks pretty good right here, with everything in the background and the pool table's blue-green felt, if you will. There's a catch though. If you were to see this in person, the paint leaves a little to be desired. There's a lot of smears, there's a lot of like just kind of carelessness. You know, like if you were telling people to color a picture and you got 15 of them in where they stayed in the lines, and then 10 of those used really weird colors, and then the other 15, it's like, oh, well, hey, you know, no big deal. You don't have to color in the lines. That's kind of what we have here. And I will say this, typically, when I buy Skylanders, you know, there's not just one, you know? So if I saw something like this or like the blemish on Tidepool, I would thumb through every single offering they had and I would pick the one that was the least objectionable or looked amazing. You can usually do that. However, I can't speak from first-hand experience with Blaster-Tron or Tidepool for the simple fact this was literally it. They had one Blaster-Tron and one Tidepool and I picked them up. So if you're, say, at Toys R Us or your Target has hundreds of them or Walmart gets them in, if they've got several, pay close attention to the paint and the areas of emphasis here. This is a very unique color scheme, right? So we've kind of got like a lavender, a purple, a very, very light and somewhat metallic purple. Not my Mystic purple by any means, but somewhat close to that on a paler scale. And then what it does is it fades into like this pearly silver is the best way I could describe it. It's not, you know, white like the base, and it's not quite a silver like you see on Crankcase's blasters. It's just kind of like this blend. And what it does is it creates kind of a robot look. So, I mean, I can see what they were going for here. And it does pull it off. It's almost like this has a sort of highly reflective coating like you would expect we might have in the future, you know. But then what they've done is, in addition to that, we've got like this really dull robotic red. You know, like if you watch the Jetsons or something as a kid, it's like a flat red. It looks like I don't know, if somebody like was making their own lipstick and trying to get like a really cool red, you would get this, because things never go right the first time, you know. But oddly enough, I do think it works well together. On Blaster-Tron, it's either people are like, oh man, this paint scheme is amazing, or oh geez, what do we even care? Oh, sweet. Okay, analysis interrupted by the jetpack on the back. That's a pretty sweet little addition. But here you can kind of see, like, we've got the lavender, the dark purple, it's sort of the shield on the sword. And then what they did, they just blend it everywhere. So you've got like this textured metallic purple on the broad portion of the sword, and then the cutting edge, if you will, is sort of their silver, and then it all just kind of blends and reflects. This is as close as we've had to like a mirror finish on a Skylander. In the packaging, this looked horrible, I'm not gonna lie, and it's probably because it was yellow and white behind him. Like, if we can, that is not a good look for this guy, okay? If he was on like a sky blue or a silver or anything that's not yellow and white as a backdrop, I think he would have looked, it's just too bright is what it is. Like, this isn't bad, but when I put yellow and white behind it, it's just like an overload, you know? It's like, one, you might get a warhead and be like, oh, this is, you know, sour, but I can get used to it. And then if you put like 8 of them in your mouth and they're all a different flavor, you're like, man, these suck, type of a thing. Now, Aurora, on the other hand, she looks amazing with the yellow background because she's got a totally different color scheme. There's no like purples and reds with her. So that accentuates everything fantastic about Aurora. Whereas we don't have just white, black, and kind of gold copper color tones. We've got purple and pink and red and a really polished silver look. And I think that's what it was, because in my hand, I'm really digging the paint scheme, but in that yellow packaging, I hated it. And I was really sad. I do want to mention before I go into further analysis here, check that out. This is not a bright background. This is a dark background, relatively speaking, and he looks a lot darker. Like, everything on this looks darker. Similarly, if the sword lights up, like if this was a pulsing light, ooh, could that be Imaginators 2.0 Light Core Senseis, all the kids like to talk about for their clickbait? Maybe. But anyway, like, honestly, this would be another one of those that's a great candidate. And I was saying that for the record a long time ago about having, I think even with Crankcase, I mentioned if that only lit up type of a thing. But if that is the case, that will be very cool. That'll bring the purple out. Same on the face or the mouth. However, I don't know the anatomy of a robot. But I think he could be one of those characters that looks radically different in-game. And we'll have to see how we like that. But again, I think it was the yellow killing it for me, because I'm really quite the fan of this. The white base with the black on top, I don't know that that's the best choice, but that's kind of just the standard. You know, it's not like, well, we're going to custom coordinate the colors here. If it's a light element, this is what the base looks like. So that said, he is light element. He is a knight, so he's got the upright sword. It is in gold. Again, that's one of those things. If that was, say, purple, it might make him look a little bit better. But that is the pattern and design on the light element bases I've shown you before. Down on the flip side, we've got the light element logo EO179A. Interestingly enough, that sounds familiar. Doesn't it? Wow, that's not blurry. EO179A. There you go. And what is that? That's Tidepool, yep. So, if you need to see that in more detail, I checked it out on hers. That's interesting. Nonetheless, he does have some heft to him, but before we continue, right here, Solar Flare Aurora, well, I should say Solar Flare Aurora and Aurora, okay? These are the two Auroras. She's so light. She's amazing. I love that chick. this is it. This is your light core duo, essentially. So we've got our two light element characters right here, and it's a fantastic pairing, I must say. Granted, we don't know how he's going to play, but she could basically carry someone that sucks, so I feel pretty confident saying that. But this is it. This is your sensei. This is your reformed villain or Doomlander. And I think that's oddly, it's kind of like the odd couple, but I feel like if we had tag team PvP, you've sort of got like your ranger-esque chick that's got speed and agility and quick attacks, and then you'd have your tank, assuming he's got playstyle like that. Since he's a knight, I assume it'll be somewhat similar. That would be a pretty good tandem, and they'd share an elemental bonus. I'm giving you ideas. Toys for Bob, I really want PvP back in a standalone game. But here he is with Solar Flare Aurora, just for comparison. That's kind of a cool deal. The orange and the black and the purple goes together quite well. I should mention, Blaster-Tron does have sort of like a spacesuit style, and this is a super frickin' gloss black. If we grab Kingpin here, like he's black, but it is a flat black, particularly on the belt. That is just insanely glossy. Tidepool, for example, I mentioned the little barnacle suits and everything. That is flat versus gloss, ladies and gentlemen. Now you can see the difference. So, that said, I really do. I mean, with anything that's not yellow or white, I think he looks pretty dadgum good. So, that's exciting to me. But there are some blemishes here, just like a bunch of overspray you could probably get off if you wanted to, or, you know, misstrokes. This is pretty cool, and oh, did not know. I wondered how they did that. If you look at his antenna, you can probably see it. Oh, you can definitely see it on the light when it reflects. But if you're like, oh, how does that halo stay on? It's actually a thin piece of clear, I'm not just saying translucent, but clear plastic there. It's almost like if we had a bottle cap or something. So that's nice. It's cool to see them still pushing the boundaries and trying new things as they continue to evolve. Personally, I will say a little bit more criticism. Number one, I think that's a stress fracture on the rocket tank. That's not a good place to have a stress fracture, just theoretically. But if we could have had like a little shading here, maybe black or a dark purple inside the rockets, maybe cap the top ends off with a different color of paint instead of having them strictly be the, you know, mirror finish silver, I think that would have been a pretty cool touch. So that's a really, really minor complaint. But let's go ahead and take a look, if we will, at his stats here. According to the website, which doesn't mean much because it won't translate to in-game, but we archive them anyway, because if we don't, who will? Power, 280 out of 350. Armor, defense, 330 out of 350. Thank you, sir. Hopefully some of that carries over. Agility, as you might expect, not lightning, 190 out of 350. Luck, 150 out of 350. So, pretty cool background story. I've kind of covered some of it for you. Blaster-Tron isn't just state-of-the-art technology. He literally is from the future. When the Skylanders traveled forward in time to stop Wolfgang, they ended up bringing back the renegade robots. I love that. Consonants there. With hopes that they could learn from his advanced circuitry. Eon immediately noticed that he had an actual good/evil switch that had been set to evil. After flipping it to good, Blaster-Tron was completely transformed. I love that because it's simple, it's believable, and it leaves the door open for him to have the switch flipped by Chaos or another villain to evil, which would be fantastic. I'm just saying. So, it's not like some story of no return. It's like the flip of a switch, literally, you can take him back to being a villain. I like that. After flipping it to good, Blaster-Tron was completely transformed. Besides going from bad robot to good robot, he ditched his blaster gun. I gotta say, I'm somewhat sad about that. In exchange for a laser sword, which, hey, it's a laser sword, so I'm, you know, it's an okay trade-off. We'll have to wait and play him in-game. No one knew exactly why, but as long as he was helping out the cause of justice, the Skylanders were happy. As a bonus, Master Eon noticed that his skill with the blade was second to none, and he made Blaster-Tron Sensei for the Night class, where he now gives 110% to training his students. Which is technically possible because in the future we figure out how to give more than 100%. Love that. It was a solid story. It tied in with his past. It brought him, well, I guess it tied in with his future, which was our past, and it brought him back to the past, which turns out to be our future. And it explained how he converted. It explained why he converted his weaponry. And it leaves the door open for future. And it also provided you know, a little bit of humor to it. So bravo. Some of the bios recently have been lackluster in my opinion. That one, very, very well executed. So, his motto, before we forget, target acquired, but let's hear it in all the glory of Blaster-Tron.
Target acquired.
One more time.
Target acquired.
Fantastic. So, that is Blaster-Tron's bio. That is what he looks like now. Collection-wise, again, he's got the cool tie-in with Wolfgang. He completes the light element, which consists of Aurora in either her standard or Alt Deco Solar Flare Aurora form. He provides contrast to our dark element characters. I didn't grab Hoodsickle, but here's Starcast. Ooh, that's a sweet pairing right there. That would be nice to see in a tag team arena PvP, wouldn't it? So just, again, contrast there. Completes the light element. Also completes, as I mentioned, the night collection, which consists of Ambush, who was available at launch. He's Life Element Knight. Wildstorm, my most anticipated Skylander, who is, of course, available now. He's part of the Cursed Tiki Temple Adventure or Expansion Pack. Let's go ahead and get those two guys side by side. That, again, I feel like would be a pretty solid pairing. Wildstorm, just fantastic figure, fantastic in game. Here he is with Ambush. I don't think we did them proper justice just moments ago. So that's that, man. The addition of Blaster-Tron to your collection, assuming you've acquired everything as it's come, you complete the light element, you complete the nights, you complete the contrast between light and dark. Can't go wrong with that. So, like I said, out of Blaster-Tron and Tidepool, I am personally more excited for Blaster-Tron. Obviously, we haven't introduced either one of them. I've not seen them in the game. I don't know their attacks or their upgrades or anything along those lines. But just, hey, who would I rather play as if I could only pick one? I would go Blaster-Tron. Most of you, however, said Tidepool over Blaster-Tron, so I will be introducing and upgrading her before Blaster-Tron. But most likely they'll go through it together for the simple fact it's easier for me to get cash for 2 Skylanders at a time, so that's what I'm going to do. But text message must be important, or, well, let me check. I love having a watch that does this. Okay, my nephew is asking when I'm going to upload a 1v1, which we did last night on Badline. And I don't know because I haven't edited it just yet. Might go do that. So, let me know your thoughts on Blaster-Tron. Just figure only. What are your thoughts? If you've already got them, which again it seems like everyone does, let me know which path did you take. Have you explored both of them? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you wish you'd have done something different? And of course, I will be going blindly through all his upgrades, assessing them individually as we go, and hopefully selecting the path that we will enjoy, but not quite enjoy as much first, so I only have to reset them once and then take the path that I think I'll enjoy the most, which I hopefully do, and be done with it. But, I also must say, I think he's a good candidate for a custom paint job. If they're readily available and the prices go down or they're on sale, like for example, if Robo and the Lost Imaginite Mine shows up and it's a buy one, get one 40 or 50%, makes sense to go ahead and pick something else up. If I could get him for $8, I would do it. That said, I believe that is all she wrote. We've covered pretty much everything. Where I got it, GameStop, $14.99 retail price. Could never get it anywhere else, so be on the lookout at GameStop or check in, call your local store, whatever you need to do. Interestingly enough, they didn't have them online, but they were in the stores, so I'll take it however it comes to me. But that's that. We got his bio, we got the catchphrase, we got all the tie-ins, the collection, analysis of the figure. All we got to do now is play him in the game and have a good time. So that's the big payoff for me. But hopefully this video helps you out. If you enjoyed it, I do ask that you leave a like. Share the video. I'm about the only person doing this that doesn't scream and use clickbait and isn't part of a multi-channel network that promotes over people like me. So I genuinely rely on grassroots support. And it's amazing to me when I get people coming to my channel that have never seen it, and they're like, I've been watching Skylander videos for the last 5 years. I can't believe I never knew your channel existed. Thank you, YouTube search engine, for featuring the same channel on 90% of the first 12 pages. I sincerely appreciate that, said no one else ever. But literally, I do, more so than anyone else, rely on word of mouth. And when there's people that have been in the Skylanders that long, and this is a reoccurring theme here as of like the last 8 months or so, it's, man, this channel's awesome. I can't believe I just found it. And I'm like, just found it? How do you, like, it's gotten ridiculous what they do. But I have no plans to change what I do. I'm going to stick to my style. pretty old school compared to, I think, everyone else playing the game. But hey, I'll do it my way, and if it clicks with people, so be it. But again, if you really want to help me out, again, I don't ask for money or anything like that. Just please share the channel. Tell people I exist, because the search engine doesn't do a very good job of that. So if you really want to help me out, that's honestly the best way to do it, and it's free. You can retweet the videos, you can share them, you can post them on forums, you can tell your friends at school, whatever. If you're at GameStop and people are like, man, I wish I knew what path to take StarCast down, be like, oh, you should watch that one of Wiisdom guy on YouTube. Simple things like that, man. It is greatly appreciated, believe you me. Oneofwiisdom.com, though, that is the website. Check it out. Skylanderclub.com is the forum. I'll be posting all my attack damage spreadsheets pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. There's also all of the polls. You can vote in them without being a registered member. So we've got like Solar Flare versus Standard, which one looks better? Things along those lines. If that interests you, my old school Skylander poll battles, I basically got there because the previous host, which was Blogger, routinely lost all hundreds and thousands of votes here and there, and that's not good for polling. So if you wondered why I took those down from my website, that's why. When you have an original poll that had like 1,600 votes, and then it changes to like 6, you're like, better get rid of that. But nonetheless, man, check all that stuff out. Mindlogics.net if you're into Minecraft. Follow me on Twitter, though. I will always tweet before I go live. I've had a lot of people when I streamed on YouTube for the first time, which was 2 a.m. in Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. 1, not a great time to attract a huge audience. 2, not... I mean, I love the game, but it's not something that you expect you're going to pull in a huge audience, right? Especially at 2 in the morning doing Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. Nonetheless, I had like 5 or 6 people that night, and they were like, I never knew that you live streamed at all. And I facepalmed so hard because I've been streaming every Skylanders level. I guess I was ahead of the curve in terms of streaming. You know, most people waited until their PlayStation or Xbox would do it automatically, particularly with games like Skylanders. But I've been doing every single chapter of Skylanders live stream to interact with the viewers since Swap Force. And to hear people say, oh, I didn't know you live streamed, it's just mind-boggling to me. So, needless to say, I'm not too happy with some things Twitch has done, and so I've, again, started streaming on YouTube some. I might also do Mixer from time to time because I honestly love their interface, and I think if more people would try that site, I think they would agree with me. But regardless of where I stream, even if it's on Twitch or some other new site comes along, I will tweet before I go live. So, that said, for myself and Blaster-Tron, I hope you acquire the target, which is the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, the little bell that you have to click now so you'll actually know that I upload videos and I'm not dead. And if you've already subscribed and you've clicked the bell, then you can click the like button and you can acquire up to 3 targets. So, and I tell you what, I'm feeling generous. I'm not gonna comment with this in the description, but if you watch to the end, if you pulled this out, you've watched Wiisdom Plays Minecraft, you know I build the wall of Wiisdom, and I build it with your comments. Leave a comment, hashtag Blaster-Tron. I'll give you a bonus brick in the wall of Wiisdom. So, that's it for myself and the man from the future that's now in the past that was, you know, our past in the future. Thanks so much for watching. Again, if you're having trouble finding them, GameStop, that's where I picked them up. Walmart's getting them in. Toys R Us had them online the other day as well. So, should be hitting all retailers. I don't know in what quantities. My advice, if you want them and you see them, pick them up to avoid any issues or regrets later on. That said, we'll be introducing and upgrading these guys pretty soon, so I hope you'll check that out as well. That said, thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you back here for more action from the pool table. Adios.